Hello to all you BC WrestlePod nerds out there, and welcome to another rendition of the Takedown Troop, your TNA weekly review here at the BC WrestlePod YouTube, Twitch, podcasting network conglomeration syndicate thingamabob we have here on the internet. Of course, the dynamic duo is back once again, holding it down last week on the day of the Valentines, but myself and of course my partner in crime, Papa Oso, we have a lot to talk about. We really do. I'm gonna just get through everything because this was another live episode of TNA. So this wasn't pre-tape. This was live, much better technical wise in terms of the production and not the feeds getting cut off.
Can I just say that
It should have. And
Yeah.
for one reason and one reason only. We'll get into all of that in a little bit. But if you are new here to BC WrestlePod, hello, welcome. Thank you for being here. We are so excited to have you here. And of course, what would BC WrestlePod be without, some fun stuff? So if you like what you see here, you can follow us all over the social media and, get to see a little bit more. You can see some out of context clips with our lovely faces talking about the things we love. We do weekly report cards here at VC WrestlePod of your favorite weekly shows and your pay-per-views as well. And we also have some merchandise. So I'm super excited. I cannot wait. We have some fun stuff coming up. Of course, Feminized Dick Tracy will make their appearance tomorrow, which makes me super excited. And yeah, if you want to know what all that's about, well, stay tuned to, 12 p.m. Pacific Central Time to cop our new merch line. So can't wait. It's going to be fun. Now that I got all the boring stuff out of the way, let us get into it because TNA this week on Thursday, February 20th, comes to us live from Orlando, Florida, specifically the Full Sail University. So any wrestling fan who's been around the block for the last 5-7 years knows that Full Sail University used to be the home of the original era of NXT for the longest time. So I'm like, we're back, you guys. We're back in it as well. But we get our regular introduction from our commentators, Matthew Raywald and Tom Hannafan. And we immediately just jump straight into the action of everything because we kicked this week's episode off with a Joe Hendry Encore Championship concert. I never get tired of these. I don't care how cheesy they are. Oh my goodness.
Agreed.
I'm like, this is so hokey and this is so cheesy. But Joe Hendry kicks everything off where basically in song he details everything that he has done since winning the championship, being in NXT last year, getting to fight for an NXT championship, fighting some WWE stars, being in the WWE Men's Royal Rumble last month in January. He name drops a couple of people like Sheamus and John Cena because, since winning the championship, Joe Hendry would love to challenge John Cena for the TNA World Heavyweight Champ, which is great. But of course, it is not a Joe Hendry concert without some haters. So Joe Hendry gets interrupted by the first surprise of this segment, which was formerly known as Primo and Epico of WWE, but the Colons make their TNA debut. And I'm just like, oh my God. Anybody who does not know their wrestling history, these two, as well as a couple other of wrestlers in the Colon family, have that relationship and are actually blood related to the late great Eddie Guerrero. So anybody who is familiar with Eddie, yeah, we're looking at cousins, second cousins, like brothers types of situation. Like these two have been in the business forever. And no shade to my man in the gray over here, but it definitely shows. I'm like, the salt and pepper's coming in. But you know what? During the match, you could have fooled me because y'all still can go. So these two talk about how, they're here at TNA. They're here to make a statement. So they're about to attack Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry gets the guitar and is ready to Jeff Jarrett people and smash them over people's heads. But then the lights go out, Will. To my surprise, I'm like, holy crap. We get the debut of Elijah in TNA. So anybody who is not familiar with Elijah, he is formerly known as Elias from WWE. He's also a born-again Christian, so extra points there for those of us who believe in the faith. But then Fightful confirmed as soon as the segment was over that Elijah is officially signed with TNA. I'm like, oh my God, I am kind of here for this. So Elijah comes out, he sings the song, gets into the ring, helps Joe Hendry kind of fend off the Colognes. Santino comes out, makes it official that the main event tonight is Elijah and Joe Hendry teaming up against the Colognes. And then Joe Hendry and Elijah do an impromptu song together. And I'm just like, Elijah's going to turn heel eventually. And I'm here for it. But hey, you know what? I have always felt that Elijah has been underutilized when he was Elias. And I am happy to see him here. And for some odd reason, his gimmick just fits so well with the wackiness that is TNA. Like, this was a lot for this opening segment. I'm like, oh my God, we got a concert and we got 2 debuts, one in a tag team and one in a new men's single star.
And I thought, oh wow, this is freaking awesome. This night's gonna be amazing.
We will get there. I promise. We will go off.
No, this was actually really cool. I actually really enjoyed this whole first opening. I loved it. I thought it was great. Of course, Joe Hendry coming out. I was like, yay. And then the Cologne, I guess, brothers, right? They're brothers?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Cologne brothers coming out. I was like, oh, I don't know these guys. But then when I Googled them, I was like, oh, okay, I don't know them, but I know the family. I'm familiar with the family. So I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then Elijah pops out, and I was like, I didn't know who he was either. So I was like, let me Google search this dude. And I really like him. I like him a lot. I was like, I don't know you, but I really, really kind of, I don't know what it was, but he hooked me like from the start.
Elijah's gimmick has been the same even since WWE. It's giving me very jacked up, like Kenny Rogers, Kenny Loggins, like wrestling Willie Nelson, if you will, which I love to death. So we will talk more about these 4 when we get to our main event. Like I said, Santino being the best authority figure across any promotion for me personally makes this match official for the evening. So we will get there when we talk about the main event. So prior to this match, though, can I just say that after this, we do get again, we're not going to touch too much on the backstage segments because they ultimately lead up to a lot of the matches. But I will say that interview with Leon Slater before this match, I was just like, stop making me love Leon Slater even more. Listen, I am a man that knows his weaknesses, and there's always something about accents. So I'm like, I love that I will say, I love that they're letting Leon talk more. And I think they're building him up as to be a staple in 2025 for TNA, so it makes me excited. And the backstage interview is like he's going to whoop JDC. We will talk about that when we get to that match. But up first is our opening match of the evening, in which we have the Rascals, which is Trey Miguel, sporting a small man bun now, which is kind of crazy to watch, and Zachary Wentz taking on the NXT duo, accompanied by Wesley, of Tyson DuPont and Igwe. This is a bit on the shorter side, but I am not surprised since Tyson and Tyreek are, I don't want to say green. They are a pretty good tag team, but we're still getting them to be more established and more comfortable. I like this match for 2 different reasons. Number 1, I love that somehow Wes's hatred for his former stable of the Rascals just makes it a fun, compelling story. And it's not a 3-on-2 because Ace Austin was also out here to even the odds, which does come into play towards the finish, in which Ace prevents Wes from interfering, which does allow the Rascals to win. But number 2, I love that we're finally getting back to establishing feuds, even though we're using an NXT, folks. We're establishing men's tag team feuds that don't necessarily involve the championships, because for the tail end of 2024, it was a battle between the Hardys, ABC, and the System, but we had no other tag team storylines going on for the men's division. So I'm happy to see, again, the Rascals win. So before we get to what had transpired after the match, Will, what did you think of our opener, the Rascals versus Tyson and Tyreek?
I liked it. I wanted more of it, and I get why it was short. I do. I understand that Tyson and Tyreek are which in a good tag team. But I agree. I think they're still a little in the learning curve area. of their career, which is fine. You get it. This is how you learn. You go up against like the Rascals or the Hardys or these established tag teams, and that's how you get better. I expect big things from these guys like pretty soon. I think we're gonna because we're starting to see them more. They're starting to become more present, and I like that. And I think that, like I said, I think we're gonna start seeing big things from these guys. At least I hope so, because I really like them a lot. And of course,
I think so too.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so for our former TNA co-host Andrew, when he was also reviewing NXT with us too, he would watch Level Up, which was like basically like a 35-minute show showcasing up and coming NXT talent. And Tyson and Tyreek were always featured heavily on there. And he loved those two as a tag team. And when, because of course, Andrew and I keep up and I let him know what's going on in TNA. And he loves that Tyreek, Wes, and Tyson are getting the shine and that they are being utilized as an actual tag team. And so I'm super excited. I think the opportunities for these guys will definitely come. But what made me even more excited, Will, is after the match, Wes gets on the mic. He's tired of having to deal with the Rascals. He thought he left them in the past. He's trying to tell Ace that, they're nothing but trouble. But if they want to fight, they gonna get one. And,
whether they win or not, I don't know. But I wonder if this is where they're going to start cutting their teeth. Basically, like where we're going to start taking them seriously.
Yeah, I hope this has the same effect as Slammiversary. It was the Rascals versus No Catch Crew, and I was like, "Yo, Tavion Heights is kind of killing it right now," because it made me love Tavion anymore. So with Wes being on the opposite end of the Rascals, though, I think all these men are going to do fantastic, and I'm so excited for this match. So I'm excited. I was like, yo, we started off great and we're getting this match. The first match was fun. I'm like, I'm gonna say what you will. We have mixed feelings about AJ Francis. I wish that Casey Navarro wasn't being portrayed as like this stooge of AJ Francis, because I actually really like Casey and his wrestling. I don't hate First Class as a concept because you're supposed to hate them. This was the lowest point for me in the show, and that's a lot to say.
Trash. Full on trash. It was ridiculous. I was just like, this is when I was saying that it should have been recorded, because this should have been edited out. I mean, it did nothing. It advanced nothing. There was no story nothing. It was literally AJ, and I don't have mixed feelings about AJ Francis. I don't like him, and I want him to go away. Literally. It's just like, I don't have those mixed feelings. So this whole thing, I was watching it, and that's when I was sent you I was like, this AJ Francis thing is trash. I mean, it is trash. And it did not have, I don't think it had the impact that they thought it would have. Sorry for the pun. But it made me dislike AJ Francis in real time, not as in character. And that's bad, because I don't dislike the performer. I dislike the character, but this actually made me dislike the performer. And I agree with you that his little dancing monkey there in the front, I mean, what the hell is that? I'm like, dude, you're better than that, man. Come on. I mean, he literally has him dressed up in that bright ass outfit, dancing around. All he needed was an organ grinder, just letting his little monkey dance. And I'm just
my God.
I mean, seriously, it was ridiculous. And these two folks over on the right there, I don't even know who they are, and I don't care. But when he started talking, I was like, someone hit him with a brick. I was like, shut up. I don't know who you are, and I don't care. That's literally this whole, and then these three people behind him, these dudes. He's like, oh, this is, and I'm like, I don't care about any of those people.
I'm just like, to me, okay, we are two. So not to throw you in with me, so feel free to disconnect at any time. But like, the two of us watch wrestling, so there has to be a suspension of disbelief for a lot of things.
Yep.
However, for me personally, I'm normally behind even the really bad stuff, because I'm like, okay, sometimes the bad stuff still pushes the narrative, pushes the story, pushes something. This served absolutely no purpose. And I'm here thinking, I'm like, oh, okay, somebody's going to come out. We're going to get a match next week, so they're going to get interrupted.
Nope.
No, we got no interruption, no nothing. And what even bothered me even more is the fact that AJ and Casey use this segment to vent their frustrations about First Class not getting a shot at the tag titles, which I was like, you know what? Cool. If this is what we're using to set it up, fine. But then they said they're okay with getting the Penthouse, and I put that in air quotes, as an equivalent and okay with it. I'm like, no, go back to being mad about not getting a tag title shot. Like, this would have been a perfect time, even though the Hardys are busy with something else at the moment. The Hardys could have came out and was like, what the crap is this, y'all? If you wanted a shot, you should have just talked to us. Let's do it next week or a sacrifice or something. But nothing, no interruption, no debuts. Like, this is not pushing the story. I'm like, this was just a waste of 10 minutes that I'm never getting back. And it sucks because this was the absolute lowest for me. And that's saying something because the crowd letting Tessa have it, which we'll talk about when we get there. Crazy enough, I was like, I was more entertained with that than this. I was like, and that's bad because that's a whole other can of worms we're going to open later in this episode. But First Class, we need to get together. Don't bring the Penthouse back because I am going to fast forward from now on. I don't care. We're moving on because I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Nope.
Now let's talk about something I actually really enjoyed. So in a first time matchup in TNA, we get some knockouts action in this next match, in which we have Rosemary versus Liang Li. And I was just like, oh, this is going to be great. I've missed Leah so much. It's been a couple weeks since we've seen her. Rosemary's always great. This was also a little bit on the shorter side, but I still enjoyed it. It was great. Now, what had me excited, though, so spoiler alert, Liang Li does win. And excited for what happened after their match. The match was really fun. I thought it was great. But after the match, though, it had me super excited, Will, because Liang Li is celebrating the ring. She goes up to walk up the ramp. Rosemary, who's being accompanied by a referee, pushes him aside, goes up to Liang Li and mists her in the face. So the mist is back like old school to, the Great Muta and Shinsuke Nakamura. And Great Muta's daughter is currently using. I'm just like, yes, give me supernatural Rosemary taking on a pissed off, Kung Fu Master and Liang. This is a feud I can get behind, Will, honestly.
I totally love this. I love this whole thing. This was a great match. I love it. I want to see more of these two, like, fight it out. I mean, it was super cool. I really enjoyed this one. I'm so glad this one happened after that last thing.
Definitely was a great mood booster up. I was like,
palate cleanser.
Seriously, I was like, I'm like, thank you, Liang Li and Rosemary, for lifting our spirits. Again, I'm hoping this is a feud that continues because I want to see these two fight more often. And we'll talk about Liang Li because she makes a brief appearance later on. But this was great. So after this match, Sami Callihan, once again being crazy, goes and finds Mance Warner, and they continue to fight. And Steph is just watching Sami and Mance fight. So I was just like, I love this. Now, you want to talk about randomness that works? This works for me because Sami Callihan is unhinged. But he is my type of unhinged. I love him to death. And it leads to something because we are getting a match between Mance and Sami next week. So I'm like, we are progressing a feud. Like, that's what segments like these, backstage segments, need to do. Still mad at you, First Class segment. The Penthouse was an absolute flop. Also, For some reason, I just love watching two psychopaths fight each other. Sami Callihan is the friend where we're just hanging out of his... just randomly starts eating a loaf of bread. And then my question is, where did you get a loaf of bread? I'm like, he's that. But then when shit goes down, he's going to be the one that pulls a switchblade out of nowhere. And I'm just like, dude, we're in public, but nice job.
He's the one that pulls it out of a loaf of bread.
Yeah, he's eating the loaf of bread that is hiding the switchblade. I was like, I don't even want to know how that works, but I'm glad you're on my side. And of course, I'm more familiar with Mance because he is as a GCW watcher, he is GCW, but he's a great addition. And I'm just happy to see Steph back on my screen. Like, I've missed her presence, and I kind of love this D4C type of character she's playing. Yep. She's like, I'm the HBIC. And I'm like, yes,
you are, girl.
I can't wait for this match next week. I think it's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah. I think it's just going to be fun. It's just full on crazy ass fun.
Oh, absolutely. So I don't have a picture for what's next, but so we go backstage. The Doc Doc is seeing, Liang Li, who has got misted, so he's trying to take care of her. This was a weird backstage segment for me because Tessa comes in and she tries to get cleared from the doctor ahead of her match tonight, but the doc tells her multiple times that she's attending somebody else, but as soon as he's done with her, she could get cleared. Tess gets mad and storms out of the room. I was just like, maybe it's because it's been a while since I've really seen Tess talk because she didn't really do too much promos when we saw her in CMLL, but I'm like, the delivery is kind of wooden. Like, I'm like, girl, we got to get it together still. Like, I know we might be a little bit rusty, but we got to talk about it. I was like, I feel uncomfortable. I'm like, I need help. I need an adult.
Exactly.
Because I wasn't mad at what Tessa was saying. It's just the delivery was just something was off about it for me.
Yeah, I don't know what it was either, but even I was kind of put off by it. Yeah.
So we're going to come back to you in a little bit. I wasn't too sure about how I felt with these rebranded Northern Armory with Sinner and Saint being Eric Young's goons, but I kind of like this Casey from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles aesthetic we're going on with them. So
yeah, I don't know about all this though.
Okay, so let's talk about the segment. And then we'll talk about our feelings because I really haven't gotten your thought too much on Eric Young being the new leader of Northern Armory and everything. But Northern Armory come out, Eric Young talks that he did what he set out what he was going to do, which was, eliminating Josh Alexander as a celebration of his power. Eric vowed to make Sinner and Saint, champions before directly, kind of not out of left field, but Eric Young asked Steve Macklin to come out and join their little group. Macklin does not come out, but Eric Young says, you know what? I understand, but Eric ends his segments by saying that he saw through Macklin's soul and said that the business was not black and white. It is blood red. So I'm like, okay, so we're probably going to get Eric Young and Macklin feuding, which I don't hate. I think it keeps Macklin involved. But damn, Josh leaving did have to change the pieces of the story a little bit. I'm like, I kind of like Eric Young and Macklin as a team, but now they're fighting. I mean, I think the feud is going to be fun, but it's going to take some time for me to get used to Eric Young being the leader of the Northern Armory. So, Will, what did you think about the promo? And I really haven't got a chance to ask you, what have you feel about the change of who's involved with Northern Armory now?
So, like, I don't understand where he went from being the empathetic good guy to the stab you in the back bad guy. I don't understand. I don't know. I don't even remember seeing a ha ha ha. I'm really playing you all. I'm really the bad guy. Ha ha ha. Oh, it was Old Man Jenkins all along. I'm just like, I don't know where it happened. And so therefore, I don't believe a sudden switch. It doesn't, because nothing happened to him for him to do that other than he wrestled somebody and lost. So I'm like, and is it Sinner and Saint? Isn't that their names? I don't know because everybody in front of them keeps overshadowing them. So that's the other thing. It's like, can we not just let these two guys be a tag team and let them be their own people? I don't think they need a figurehead because one, when he was sitting there and he was talking, I was like, there was a moment when they were with Josh that I thought, wow, these guys could be somebody. They stand out. And now I don't care. They're full on background characters. I don't know where this transition happened. I mean, do you? I mean, am I just absolutely in right field out of my mind looking at the grass? I mean, where did it come from? You're muted.
Stupid Mike. I'm just kidding.
Amazing things that you were saying. I just couldn't hear you.
I can repeat it. So I'm not opposed to Eric Young being the new leader because I like heel Eric because him being Dick Dastardly villain is fantastic and I love it. My issue though is because with Josh's contract ending, I feel that we skipped a whole bunch of chapters leading into this turn because literally we just had Eric Young and Macklin team up with each other because they were beefing with the system.
Yep.
And so we had that match at Genesis where Macklin and Eric Young beat the system. And so I was like, okay, these two are on the same page. They're still working out their issues, but hey, you know what? They might go for a tag team title run. I could be behind that. But then to kind of skip over a couple of chapters and then have Eric Young turn back to being a heel and then taking out Josh and then, now becoming the new leader of the Northern Armory. I need to know the motivation as to why. And we have not gotten that yet. Now, granted, this is really early still, and eventually we might get it, but I don't even think TNA knows what that motivation is yet. They're just like, oh crap, Josh is leaving. Eric, you're reliable. Let's put you as the new leader. Because I feel bad for Sinner and Saint here, because I was like, it's not their fault that Josh was the leader of the group, and then his contract's up, and so now Eric's involved. I like Sinner and Saint. I have seen them. They are currently the Defy Wrestling Tag Team champs, and they are good as a tag team. It's just that TNA hasn't shown me that version of Sinner and Saint yet. It's mostly been lackeys or getting beat up by Mike Santana when Josh was feuding with Mike. I need TNA to be able to give me the reason and the motivation as to why. And I'm hoping that Macklin might be the vehicle to get that. But right now, I am so confused as to where we are going with all of this.
And that's what I'm talking. That's what I'm saying. It's just I'm just saying it differently. But I don't have a problem with him being a bad dude or a bad guy or a heel. I have the issue that I don't know when the switch happened. Therefore, I don't believe this. This is coming from a theatrical viewpoint. There was no character development for this changeover. And I mean, shame on them for just doing it because Josh was leaving. I had mentioned it before. What I thought would have been really badass is if he came along and was like, hey guys, Josh is gone. You guys could be really good. So why don't you come to the light side? And then they switched him over to the dark side. That would have been a pretty cool story. But this switch happened so fast. And I was just like, this is my issue with it. I feel like it's faker than fake, because there was no build. I have nothing to invest in because you robbed me of the build to the switch. So I don't believe you. It's like, So I'm kind of like, okay, whatever. So he was talking, and I was just kind of like, I don't care. I have nothing invested in you because there was nothing for me to invest in. So I literally am just like, I have nothing to give. Sorry.
I agree with you here. Normally, I'm a wait and see type of person, but like you had to have given me something, and we just threw Eric Young into this without no development, no motivation, like no nothing. So I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I hope Lockjaw Macklin will come and I need Macklin to help save the story, because right now it is kind of so I feel bad for everyone involved. Josh leaving TNA definitely throws a wrench in some of the creative plans, and they're trying their best. So I don't want to fault TNA too much on it, but hopefully TNA will find the right parts to kind of fix this story, because I think there's potential here, but you need to start showing me more, and don't let me just assume this is where the motivations or characterizations are going. Show me. I'm an intelligent wrestling fan, but you have to show, not tell. Don't tell me this is happening. Show me why it's happening. Which is funny, because on the flip side, whereas this story is kind of a mess right now, the long, slow burn. God. Okay. I want to talk. Listen, it's only February, and I'm stealing ideas from the professor. This is probably on my top 3 right now favorite segments of 2025 of wrestling. Like, holy shit. Okay. So I want to talk about this, and then we'll go into a deep dive. So immediately, once we saw a group of men in a circle, and we saw Mike Santana there, and of course, because I'd be stalking the social medias like that, we'd be showing off his 2-year sobriety chip. So shout out to Mike Santana on that. As somebody who knows about all that very, very well, it is a proud moment when you can consistently keep going and staying clean and all that good stuff. So we're in a regular AA meeting with Mike Santana and, the people he's in here with. And so I was like, okay, this is going to be fun. And then the door opens and I see the suits and I'm like, oh shit, what's about to go down? What's about to pop off? Can I just say, okay, I try to keep politics out of what we do here, but you cannot tell me that Ali is using the current political climate as like parts for his wrestling character, which is crazy. We talked about this before, where with Ali being back in TNA and now he's being signed full time, as much as I love the presidential candidate character, we both talked about how we need a little bit more depth an added layer to this character. And last week when I talked about the, him having a whole cabinet now of the Good Hands and Tasha Steeles, I was like, okay, this is going to be fun. But you want to talk about solidifying like a villain, like a comic book villain type of wrestler? Oh my God, this is great. So Ali gets in there, he sits down, he's listening, and he gives a very passionate speech about how, we can't be in control of everything. We have to take things one at a time. That what Ali sees in these men are inspiring. He's like, this was the coldest line I have ever heard any wrestler say to this day. He sits in, Ali is still sitting. He says, you know what? Things can change, Mike. Gets up, gets close to Mike's ear, facing him, and says, but people like you don't, and leads. And then the ending shot is Mike Santana just snarling with the lower lip. And you can see even though he's wearing shades, I can see those blood, his eyes, he's seen red. He's about to crash out and brutalize Ali next time. I'm like, oh my God, this segment was masterfully done. Holy crap.
Yeah. This is wow. It's like, after I watched it, I was like, okay, there it is. You got me. Ali, I'm on your side again. I love this character. I love what you've done. So I was getting kind of tired of this. It was kind of the same thing over and over and over again. It was getting boring. It was getting flat. And my God, he pulled this. And I was like, oh, shit. He literally did this in Mike Santana's house. I mean, it's like he came to his house and slapped his mama. I mean, yeah, and he did it. He did it. It was smooth. It was cool. He stood up. I mean, it was like, oh my God. We have literally witnessed the birth of a villain. Like literally just witnessed it, because there is no good guy in this. Like, I mean, he is a Bond villain. That's what he is, a Bond villain.
Oh, absolutely. And again, like I mentioned before, we were a little bit worried about Ali continuing with the presidential campaign. But now, just from this was like a 1.5 2-minute segment, like maybe less than 3% of the total runtime of this episode. But this was my favorite segment of the whole entire night, because for me, it did two things. It gave me the depth of Ali, and now he went just from being a wrestling heel to a true villain. I'm like, he's giving me Homelander vibes, like from The Boys. Intelligent, smart, but he will crush you if he deems it necessary. And the other thing, too, that I loved about the segment is because we're talking about Ali, but this does something very beautiful for Mike Santana in my eyes, because now it is building Mike as the true people's hero. To watch somebody come into his house, something that is so sacred and means so much personally to Mike, especially, him being very open about his struggles with sobriety and sharing his, journey of what it took the last 1.5 or 2 to get clean, to heal from all that, and to do better. This was beautifully done. I need to know which executive producer, which TNA writer, like whoever was in charge of this segment. This was chef's kiss. You made Ali a true despicable villain that I am here to see get knocked down when the time comes. And now you're making me love Mike Santana even more, to watch him become the people's champion, rise up and to overthrow the, Ali and his, cabinet. Like, God, this is my favorite story right now in wrestling in 2025. And we're barely in February.
I agree. This is like Superman and Lex Luthor.
Yes.
This is totally like Superman and Lex Luthor. This is Mike Santana is the people's hero. I mean, he's the people's man, the man of every man, woman, and child. And Ali is the one that just wants to tear him down, just to show everybody that he's an alien. I mean, literally, that's like villain, making him look like a bad guy. That's what we're going to see. I guarantee you. This is total Superman Lex Luthor. This is total, and I'm here for it. After this segment, I was like, this is going to be, either it's going to go one of two ways. Either it's going to be the best freaking story arc this whole year, or it's going to bomb. I'm thinking it's going to be the best one this whole year, because holy crap. My jaw was on the floor at the end of this. I was just like, oh, I mean, because this is the thing about it, is that Ali went into a safe space, Mike Santana's safe space, and annihilated it basically by taking everything that he loves and pulled it to himself, and it was like it's like a low blow. It is literally the lowest blow probably.
This
I mean,
was a big mind trick for him
oh
because I don't need to brutalize you. I will assassinate you intellectually
yep.
and show you that literally Ali, with what he said to the people at the AA meeting, I was like, oh, it's literally silver tongue barbs. Like,
Yeah.
it's like silver for you D&D nerds there. It's the equivalent of like silvery barbs where you speak words and they cut like knives. But Ali does it in a way where it's methodical, and I love it.
And the thing about this is now anything that Mike Santana says negative about Ali looks bad on Mike Santana, because Ali just literally walked in there, made himself the good guy, and now if he walked out of the room and then Mike started talking shit about him, it makes Mike Santana look bad. Doesn't make Ali look bad, makes him look even better.
And you could tell Mike was biting his tongue so hard.
I'm amazed.
But that final shot of him just like snarling at the camera before it fades to black, I was like, if not at Sacrifice, selfishly, I would love these two to fight at Rebellion. Like, literally, the pay-per-view is called Rebellion.
Yep.
This was beautiful. And the crazy thing is, Will, is that this segment was also capped up for me, my match of the night. No disqualifications, JDC versus Mr. Leon Slater. This was actually a really great match. And I was like, JDC, you've had a busy week. Last week you fought Lexus King for the Heritage Cup Championship. And then, you're out here fighting Leon Slater. Leon Slater with my move of the night, that 450, like, frog splash through JDC through the table. I'm like, also, Leon Slater, I am not upset if you want to keep, like, that like mechanics like jumpsuit as part of your ring gear, because that was cool as hell.
I agree. Totally. So good.
At first I was mad that Leon lost, but I think looking back at it, I think him losing here to JDC gives him somewhere to go. Look, if we want Leon to start fighting the system and taking them out too, like Mike Santana did, I'm telling you, I am putting it into existence. Leon Slater should beat Moose for the X Division Championship and make Leon Slater the youngest X Division champion in this company's history.
Yeah, speak it into existence.
Yes, I am here for the Leon Slater's X Division champion agenda. But yeah, I really love this match. And then, the ending of this also had me floored. I'm like, oh my God, this match next week is actually going to kind of slap. So the system come out. They try to add insult to injury by beating up Leon Slater. The Hardys end up coming out for the save, but the numbers game is too much. But then the ruler of NXT makes an appearance, and Oba Femi comes out. And because of his sheer presence, the system dip. The Hardys and Oba Femi are in the ring together. Backstage, Santino lets the system know that next week it will be Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, and Moose taking on the team of Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy, and the NXT champion Oba Femi. I'm like, good God, I am now excited for this match. Holy crap, that should also be a good one.
Yep. Oh, I think it's going to be damn good. It's funny but I have really, really, really grown to love Oba Femi even more than I have. And these last few episodes or so, with this new crossover happening, I've really, like, when that whole him facing off with Moose thing, I was like, I want Oba Femi to destroy him. Is that bad of me?
No, I think it's because, and of course, I think it makes it perfect that both cover NXT and TNA, especially now that we have officially this long-term partnership between the two brands. So it makes me excited because now, because not to put him on blast, but having a conversation with Luis last night, talking about he was watching TNA and he was excited about the colognes because, Puerto Rican pride and everything, which I love. And I was just like, in my head, I was like, let's try to indoctrinate him into the cult of TNA. Because I honestly think he would like TNA. Because TNA and NXT to me give me similar vibes of how they run their shows.
I think that's probably why I like them both.
But I mean, I love seeing the NXT stars and TNA stars crossing over to each other's brands. So I'm excited for this match next week. I think it's going to be fantastic.
I agree.
This was a rough one, but not in the same way that the First Class thing was.
No, agree.
This Orlando. Normally, I never give Florida credit because they're weird. They're homophobic. Well, the state legislature is. I shouldn't say the people. Florida's just a weird, like, void of the United States. But Orlando, you get credit and points from me because, okay, I want to say this. I am not wishing on Tessa's downfall. Nobody should deserve that. But girl, your behavior from the last time you were here, and we really haven't addressed it yet. This crowd is, I kind of love in 2025, wrestling fans are not afraid to let their true feelings be known. When it comes to certain things, they're more vocal. And I also love that they're not stupid like wrestling fans used to be back in the day, where they kind of be like, oh, this person did something bad. Nah, it's okay. In 2025, they're like, nah, this person did bad. We ain't gonna forget. We ain't dumb. I'm a person that believes in second chances. So it's Tessa being back in TNA, like I said during our Genesis review. I'm still torn because I want to see her succeed because, you know, I believe in a second chances, but girl, girl, we're not handling this. But Tessa comes out. She's talking about, you know, she's not going to wrestle tonight. You know, the doctor didn't clear her. She's not going to do it because these fans are dumb. The fans chanting, Tessa, we're coming for you during the middle of this too. It was crazy, which then prompts Santino to come out, and he's had it with Tessa. And it's like, Santino tells Tessa, if you don't, you're going to wrestle next week. And if you don't wrestle, you're fired. Which then prompts Masha Slamovich to come out. I love the subtle dig here because Masha's like, Santina, if she's not cleared, I want this match because, you know, unlike Tessa, some of us are actual professionals and we show up to do our jobs. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, Masha, whether that was an actual real thing, if that was ad-libbed or it was in the script, I'm like, burn! And you know what? This, I think, is going to be the start of building up to Tessa versus Masha. Yeah. I think that's probably going to be the Rebellion match, honestly, Tessa versus Masha. And I'm hoping she at least retains at Rebellion. I don't want to see Tessa win at Rebellion because then I would cry. Anyways, but Santino gives the okay. Masha walks down to the ring in her Matrix-esque gear, pulling that coat with effort, without any effort. And she has an impromptu match with Mila Moore. Mila tries, Masha wins. It was great. And then we get a wild Cora Jade attacking Masha after the match. Cora and Tessa have a stare down. And I was excited with the Rascals and Ace Austin versus Tyreek Tyson and Wes. But when I tell you, this little graphic here made my heart explode. Andrew is actually kind of hyped for this because I sent him the picture. I'm like, oh my God, we're finally doing it. And Andrew's like, yo, this match is going to be sick. I'm excited. So the second match made for Sacrifice is official. It is going to be Masha Slamovich versus Cora Jade for the TNA Knockouts Championship at Sacrifice. Oh my God. I think this match is going to be great. Especially, it also gives Cora something to do now that we're kind of pulling her away from Roxanne and everything that's happening in NXT. Like, oh my gosh, Will, I'm really excited for this match.
Yeah, me too. I mean, this because of who it is, this match is going to explode. It's going to burn the place down.
So with Cora facing Masha here, I want to see Masha fight somebody over in NXT. You know what? I'm going to be completely honest. If I had a true dream booking, you know who I want to see Masha fight just because I think it would be absolute carnage? Well, there's two. Masha versus Stephanie would be a lot of fun. But just because of how similar the vibes are, Masha versus Zarya.
Ooh, that would be badass.
I was like, because they give me same vibes, and I'm here for it.
I agree.
But I'm excited for this match. This is great. And the funny thing is this match is announced in a backstage segment with dad and daughter, Santino and Ariana, which was very cute. Which also led into a really funny backstage segment with those two. And then, you know, because the House of Elegance come up there, you know, George Iceman, the concierge, wants to know when House of Elegance gets a tag team title rematch for the Knockouts Tag Team Championships. You know, then Spitfire come in. We get a little back and forth between the two. And ultimately, Santino books a tag team championship match with some very fun stakes involved. The losing team would become 24-hour like bag girls for the other team, carrying bags, basically becoming like young boys or young girls in a sense, like basically being the assistants to the winning team. So I'm like, oh God, I'm like, I kind of want, because of the stipulation, I kind of want to see House of Elegance win the titles and then make Spitfire be the 24-hour assistants. I'm like, I think that'd be hilarious. But hey, we're continuing the feud, which is what I've wanted for this because I didn't want it to be a one and done after Genesis.
Exactly.
I can't wait. Fantastic. Love to see it. Main event time. Again, the Colognes, despite how old they are and how long they've been in this business, impressed me, but they were no match. And the crazy thing is that it was Elijah who picked up the victory for him and Joe Hendry.
I was like, good. I mean, they Elijah won because I was like, I figured that probably Joe wasn't going to be the one to pin anyone, but and because it was Elijah's debut, so I was like, oh, that's okay. And then when he got it, I was like, yeah, that's pretty darn cool. You're coming into the new company and you get to win your first match, basically. That's fantastic, I think. So, and I really like his wrestling style. I like him a lot. Like I said, when they first came out at the beginning, I was hooked immediately. I was like, God, there's something. He just charisma. It's like him and Joe. I mean, like Joe's the same way. I mean, the first time I ever met or saw Joe Hendry, I was just like, I like this dude. There's something about him I just love. And whether with this would be great if they became the antithesis of each other. You have like the mirror Joe Hardy over there.
Seriously, I would love for that to happen. And so, of course, main event, the Colognes did great, but Elijah and Joe Hendry do pick up the victory. I did forget to mention before this, though, Ryan Nemeth does come out on the ramp, but we do get confirmation that Nick's suspension is officially up and he will make his return at Sacrifice. So I'm like, shenanigans, craziness. Yo, if this makes it a Nick Nemeth heel run, I'm kind of here for it because even though Nick was the one who super kicked Santino, I'm wondering if this manifests into, you know what? I want to fight Joe Hendry and I'm going to wipe the floor with him. I'm like, yes, give me that anger. Because again, we talked about this. The face on face feud that those two had was like a little weird, but I'm here for a heel Nick Nemeth going after a face Joe. Like, I think it'd be great.
Yeah.
So, and again, with Elijah now on the roster, if he wants to team with Joe to fight the Nemeth brothers, I'm not going to be opposed to it.
That'd be awesome. I'd love that.
Man, what way to make your mark on the company than teaming up with, the TNA World Champion?
Yeah, you're not kidding. Wow. Coming in your first, and that's pretty impressive too. This is your debut and you're teaming up with Joe Hendry.
That's crazy.
I would just be like in my trailer going, oh my God.
I was like, this is my first night in the company. I'm officially signed here and I get to tag with the world champion. That's crazy. Oh my goodness. But that brings us to the end of this week's TNA episode, minus the first class stuff. There's a lot of stuff I like, but I also have questions about some other things. But the road to Sacrifice has officially begun. We are 3 weeks away from the Sacrifice pay-per-view. So I'm super excited. But that's going to be it for us here at Takedown Troop. So for myself and Will and the rest of the BC Wrestle Pod family, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We will catch you later, but until...
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's going to happen next time? Well, you're going to have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.